the paper should on the water, the need Rajakala Joba Tamana, Rashi the lecture easy. The laboratory, Sanjay or Bob, big Saga from Zealand, and he to me said that they were easy. The Taman take or a county did it. Sanjay or Bob, big same decision, Jesse Omare, the Titon Dolly. I thought the same decision when they don't tone, same decision, Jesse Omare. Mainland, the late of the matter, they got the main younger. They were going to subject on the name of God dancing yoke, check this much so much. To me, said the community, so same decision with them, or tell Jesse Bebeton. They thought teen already. To me, said the secretary, subject about someone on two bomb.
Tashitele to all my Dharma friends assembled here and all those Dharma friends following us on the live stream. In this begging bowl of the Buddha Amitabha, there is the nectar of deathless life, immortality. And this is offered to all of us by the Buddha, and I'm offering that to you. And so the meaning that we should understand behind this is that the Buddha Amitabha's mind, his Buddha nature, transcends birth and death. And that is your own mind. Your own mind, your Buddha nature, when you see your true nature, you will see that it is never born and it never dies. Temporarily, because we do not understand karma, we experience suffering. If you want to be happy, you have to cultivate love. If you do not want to suffer, you have to let go of self-grasping. Everything is really in those words. So this is the nectar of immortality, and its essence, or what it points at, is our Buddha nature. And Buddha nature is beyond birth and death. And so that is the nature of your mind. So this is the nectar of love that I'm offering to you.
Open prayer book, page number 1.
All mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. I take refuge in the Buddhas until attaining the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until attaining the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness in the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness in the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Amitabha, page number 1.
In the space in front appears the Guru in the form of Amitabha, surrounded by an inconceivable retinue of bodhisattvas.
Oi namo gonjo san dan sa wa san ja ne nai lai ja sun je ro gu san je lan gu ja jan jan jo de sen je do namo gonjo san dan sa wa san Chan nan lai cha sun je ro gu san je lan gu jia chan chan jo de sen je do.
Page 2. Namo. To the three jewels and the three roots, the places of protections, I go for refuge. In order to establish all beings in Buddhahood, I give rise to the mind set on the supreme awakening.
Oi jo je de san jo ba ye jar wa se je dan je la ge ne dan we jiang za lo me do be ma me zhe ya ze ro mo la zo ba When ye je ne ba pai be zo je je zo do ma me ne ta de ba me ge je dan za me nga se ne nye mo wan je be de ba dan je sha ba je Nian de ran jia chan jiu zhen su zi jie wo la zui bei de zhen ge wo jie zai bai sun na la ne da ye rai zhen jie nan jie san ba dan luo ye jie zha jie da wan Jie jiao de mo de ba ye jie jian guo lo guo de zhen guo wai jie se ma dong ba nyang ye men da du jie ye dong ai jian zu xin wa ye sen jie na la zhe de zhe da ge zo na jie sa ba dan jie sa jie 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 ne ren ba me de zhe wa ye ren be ba de da jie jie
Page 2 in the center. With sincere faith, I pay homage to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas abiding in the 10 directions and 3 times. I offer flowers, incense, lamps, fragrance, food, music, and the like, actually arranged and mentally created. Supreme Gathering, please accept them. I confess all evil deeds, the 10 non-virtues, and the 5 acts without I committed, overpowered by mental afflictions since beginningless time until now. I rejoice in the merit of all the virtue accumulated in the 3 times by the Shravakas, Prachika Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, ordinary beings, and the like. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the greater and lesser vehicles and the teachings common to both according to the aspirations and diverse mental capacities of sentient beings. Until samsara is emptied, do not pass into nirvana, but compassionately look upon sentient beings drowning in the ocean of suffering. May all the merit I have accumulated become the cause of awakening, and may I soon become a glorious guide of beings. The field of accumulation dissolves into me. Thus the mind of the four immeasurables has arisen within the mind streams of myself and all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness. May they be free from all suffering and may never be separated from happiness. May they abide in the great equanimity. Back to page 5. Appearance and existence, all phenomena of samsara and nirvana, are empty by nature. Not realizing this, how afflicted are deluded beings in samsara. My own awareness appears as a white tree, the manifestation of unified emptiness, clarity, and compassion. The Hree transforms into myself, appearing as Chenrezig seated upon a cushion of lotus and moon. I have one face and 4 arms, 2 are joined at the heart, and the other 2 hold a lotus and garland. Peaceful with a loving countenance, I am dressed in the garments of the Sambhogakaya Buddha. Sitting in a cross-legged posture, my lower body is enfolded in a lotus. In the space in front, upon the seat of a lotus and a moon, appears a red Hri gleaming with light. The light radiates, pleasing the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, and gathering their knowledge, love, and power. The light then dissolves back into the Hri. Again, light rays radiate to the 6 realms, purifying the karmic visions, self-grasping, and habitual imprints of sentient beings. The light gathers back, and the Hri transforms into the supreme protector of all beings, Buddha Amitabha. He is bright red like a mountain of rubies, with 1 face and 2 arms in equipoise, mudra holding a begging bowl. He is garbed in the 3 dharma robes and sits in a cross-legged posture. Ceaselessly looking upon beings with eyes of compassion, he appears as the great embodiment of all Buddhas. On his right is the noble supreme Chenrezig, with 1 face and 2 arms, holding a white lotus in the left hand. White and adorned with jewels, he stands upright. To the left is the Lord of the Bodhisattva Vajrapani, with 1 face and 2 arms, holding a vajra in his left hand. Blue and adorned with jewels, he stands upright. They are surrounded by an assembly of bodhisattvas. The 3 places of the principal Lord are marked with the 3 syllables. From the syllables, white, red, and blue light radiate to the 10 directions, and in particular to the Pure Land of Sukhavati, invoking the heart pledge of Amitabha and his retinue, who then instantly appears in this place. Page 9. Home. In the great bliss sphere of my own primordially pure awareness abides Amitabha and retinue as the naturally present innate radiance. From the beginning, the Samaya being and the wisdom being are one, yet from your form manifest from the expanse of great love and compassion in accordance with the mental inclinations of beings. Following your heart pledge, come here to this place and be seated indivisibly from the mandala of the Samaya being.
Samaya Om zar our da bezova wam baza zavarana ka wan zarwan be bura bura zara zara our da be so wan baza zavarana ka wan zarwan be bura bura zara zara our de by so Bazam baza zavarana gara ya la jedan dembe joyanda jemberan jarve jardember rogun jarban bazan zoje dazanyome Yawan Yazanda Ranje Jarve Jaldambar Rogan Zebe Don Wajer Jerje Laze Medon Nazon Zebande Zoberanye Jarve Jelambar Rogan Dore Yon de den yo Lin jia jia xian zhen zhuo du ben de zun zhe ran xin jia wei xiang lan ben zhuo ge ze bei qian le zhuo wai xuo san xian na wei ren ji zhuo men de San de ran xian jia wei du lan bo lu gun zhe lu mo me se wa xiu ge ge la zi mie de men jie jia xi ra ran xian jia wei gu lan bo zhuo wai gun jie jie nie du bai xiu Ro jia jie dan den be xia zhen de da jie ran xie jia wei jia lan ben zhuo ge den ze ze jie suo wai xiu be dan zhe zuo nian jie ro me zuo do jie ran xian jia wei nian lan ben zhuo ge jian jie sen dan den bai xiu wang bu zhen xian de bei yuan de mo lan ran xian jia wai nan lan bu zhuo ge san mie de wei ngo bai xiu zha xie zi da jie dan jia zi de ye xie ran xie jia wa na lan bu zhuo ge san jie yuan de du bai yu.
Back to the bottom of page 10. Free, I offer this water endowed with the 8 attributes, with the nature of generosity to the mouths of the victorious Buddhas. May they be perfect, fortunate for all beings. I offer this cleansing water, clear, cool, pristine, and exquisite, with the nature of morality, to the feet of the victorious ones. May all beings be relieved from the torment of existence. I offer various beautiful celestial flowers that have the nature of patience to the eyes of the victorious ones. May all beings be endowed with the 7 attributes of the higher realms. I offer naturally sweet-smelling scents and blended incense that has the nature of diligence to the noses of the victorious ones. May all beings become free from the bonds of existence. I offer this precious, radiant, and lustrous lamp that has the nature of meditation to the hearts of the victorious ones. May all beings clear away the dense darkness of their deluded minds. I offer fragrant medicinal elixir, saffron, and the like, which have the nature of transcendent knowledge to the bodies of the victorious ones. May all beings realize the inner nature of phenomena. I offer food endowed with the essence of 100 tastes, with the nature of method to the tongues of the victorious ones. May all beings be sustained by the food of samadhi. I offer harmonious musical sounds, such as those of conch, shell, drum, and bell, which have the nature of power to the ears of the victorious ones. May all beings be endowed with the awakening mind. I offer the 5 desirables that appease the senses and have the nature of prayer to the victorious ones. May all beings be satisfied by untainted bliss. I offer the 8 auspicious substances, the 8 auspicious symbols, and the 7 royal attributes, which have the nature of wisdom to the victorious ones. May all beings attain the attributes of Buddhahood.
Om sarva benza menga samendra savarana samaye
Page 14. All owned and unowned things of the entire infinite billion-fold universe, my own body, enjoyments, and all possessions, I offer without holding anything back to the Pure Land of Sukhavati. May the self-grasping of beings be thereby fully pacified. May they be endowed with the awakening mind, and may their birth in the Pure Land be unobstructed. Realizing that my own mind is the Buddha, I pay homage on the ultimate level. Abiding within the ungraspable, empty awareness, everything comprised within appearance and existence is offered. Deluded perceptions of dualistic grasping are confessed within the great expanse of Dharmata. I rejoice within the state of spontaneous completion of the 3 kayas. The Dharma wheel of unceasing compassion will always turn. Abide within the natural Dharmakaya that pervades all samsara and nirvana. In infinite pervasiveness, where there is no reference point of the 3 spheres, dedication will always take place.
dan ja sha xian zhou wei dun zi bi nan dan yan xia zi la jian zar de jie zi dan de jian de la zuo ya zi jian zi zha jian ba bi zuo de jie xian de xue bi la zuo la le ma ye zang gu bi jian de.
3. Ever turning the wheel of Dharma in the pure land of Sukhavati, you unceasingly look upon sentient beings with compassion. Homage and praise to Amitabha, who, abiding in equipoise, following his pledge to act for the purpose of beings. To Chenrezig, Vajrapani, the other bodhisattvas, the noble assembly of arhats, and the gathering of deities abiding in Sukhavati, I humbly pay homage and offer praise with body, speech, and mind. Bottom 17. At the heart of myself, appearing as Chenrezig, on a moon disk is a Hri, surrounded by the 6-syllable mantra circling clockwise. From its light radiate, a white mantra garland issues forth, emerges from my heart, and dissolves into the heart of the deity visualized in front. Thus, Amitabha's compassionate heart pledge of body, speech, and mind is invoked. From the mantra garland around the Hri at the heart of Amitabha, a red mantra garland of light emerges from his mouth, enters my mouth, and I obtain blessings and attainments. In this way, the mantra circles continuously between myself and Amitabha. The multicolored light issuing from the circling mantra garland pleases the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, purifies the three types of obscurations of all sentient beings in the 3 realms, and the universe and beings transform into a pure land of Sukhavati.
Amen.
Tiri chucho dhamma trashi tere shu yin tiri dhamma shu song tang chang ma chi ma chi pa song tiri yang ki chakashi shu yin tiri khaan yin tiri tata tata dhamma rin sanji ki tenpa rupo chen di tiri chi chu kumpo chi chi tong mangpo yori tiri te tam chi chi yang tiri yin tu ro na yang tiri kuso ta mang cha song tiri 강ኛ서리 것이 다 하고 말이 이 당시 냥서 내 탑네 이 라 잭도 저 탑지가 되네 이양 참아 상탁벌이 이 감리들 남바 상지에 되네 때마들라 파트로한테는 콘데이와 주변 다 줘야요 말이 그래서 다 주변 다 줘야요 말이 영어 철들어 가면 되네 철들어 나와 센터 타지 세미사동 타제도 세미동발 타제되는 도다고 대마 통도는 라가 실적을 됐고 요리 나이 소지는 나서 됐다 나와 당주라고 세인데 나와 세서 타제 세미동발 타제되는 동지들 가래 동걸 나디들 동은 이제 막고 창을 이제 세분 내로 통들이 되는 고대가 잡대들이 도다고 대마 통라더니 사실 모시고 가면더니 동정 통나 이 탑체 통터데 저 사자집은 명하는 고소시에디 마음을 아반데 샤송 오지 고대 탑체 뒤쪽을 통터바지 데르데 담화지 거기까지 자치 보면 뒤쪽을 통터고 그래 추장량한테 장매 바래 지금 보고 제대로 되는 담화지 하고 그러래 데르들이 제 말에 배송하래 가당 내매 메시나 망보 시설 잡아야지 같이 망보들 로조여 같이 망보 시사나 나그 세부자와 마도나 그렇지 하고요 말이지 당 그래 세부자와 또 그러니 공자를 들 참아 그래 참하고 그래서 그랬더라 이 까빠통도 잡은 루메 저거만 처럼 세송 사자집에 용띠 되리 명하도 되라고 그래 고대 저답 자체나 동적시설 고대 이거 람스시걸 산지 탑 체발지 도망 많이 봐 예즈베 봐 산지 공마 용띠 되리 대하고 그래
So Dharma friends, sorry, and please continue reciting the mantra quietly to yourself continuously. Now I'm going to share a few words. And so in this world, we have the precious teachings of the Buddha. And there are many teachings. There are the 84,000 different Dharma teachings. If one wanted to practice all of these teachings, there would be just too many. It would be impossible for us to understand all of these teachings and practice them all. But then still there is a way to practice them all. And that is if one practices a single deity, a single sadhana. Within that, actually, all those teachings, all those practices are contained. And so how is that the case? So when we look at the Buddha's teachings, they can be endless. If we elaborate, samsara and nirvana is endless. But then we can also summarize. We can all bring it back into one essence, into the mind itself. And so when we bring it all back to the mind, we realize that all appearances are the mind. It is said that appearances are the mind, and the mind itself is emptiness. So that is the ultimate truth that we need to realize. When you see your own mind, you understand everything. In the 37 practices, it says, appearances are one's own mind. So first we need to understand that appearances are one's own mind, and then that mind itself is emptiness. And so what does emptiness really mean? It means the emptiness of self-grasping. When there is no self-grasping, when self-grasping becomes empty, then others, this concept of other also becomes empty. And then you see the nature of the mind. And when you see the nature of the mind, you realize that your mind pervades both samsara and nirvana. Seeing the ultimate truth is also referred to as seeing Mahamudra. In the Mahamudra teachings, it says that if you see your mind only, you see everything. So therefore, the Mahamudra teachings are referred to as the Mahamudra Upadesha, or the Mahamudra Pith instructions, or essential instructions. And what that means is that even though samsara and nirvana are vast, there are endless phenomena. It all comes down to one thing, seeing one thing, and that is your mind. When you see your own mind, you see everything in samsara and nirvana, everything in the three times. So that is this Mahamudra. And then Upadesha, or Pith instruction, is that even though your mind is vast, or phenomena are vast, everything comes from your own mind. Even though there are many teachings, there are 84,000 Dharma teachings, what we need to understand is the Pith instruction of all these teachings. Milarepa had said that if you do not understand or do not know how to view the kind of the mind that is beyond abiding and cessation, no matter how much you know, you will still be ignorant. You will not realize the root, the essence of things. So meaning that no matter how much learning of the Dharma you may have, if you do not realize its root essence, you still don't actually understand the Dharma. So the root essence to be understood is your own mind. And Milarepa says that when you see your own mind, you see everything, just as he does. And so in the Mahamudra teachings, it also says, a single lamp flame dispels the darkness of 1,000 aeons. And so that is the quality of Mahamudra. That in itself is the Pith instruction. So it is that even though, no matter how vast samsara and nirvana may be, they have a single essence. And if you understand this, if you know this single essence, you instantly understand everything. You know everything in samsara and nirvana. And that realization is the special quality or the special skillful method of the Buddha's enlightened intent. And it is that Pith instruction that we need to understand.
대략 가리 고거들 주봉 제제 동거 짜와서 속설을 넣어서 오 차로들 두고 그래서 대저 생근을 두다고 또 삼제래서 삼대 총총게 배가 말이야 총총은 뇌바요래 나디는 요래 삼대 치보고 그래서甚至 탐지 파마에 마시리 되네甚至 탐지를 삼바 체배고 그래서 대여로 삼제가 가리 배가도 가리 배 삼제가 차로도 쉬어도 그래 당시 삼제 비용나니 소디면은 망고시에 그랬더니 대체 그 메인지 옛날에들 득탑 탐지 처디는 토마를 잡로서 요래서 대 가리실 거 그러지 대란데 고 초들 사제가 하고 요래서 사제의 당하대 하고네 오 그리지 다 사제 취소하는 취가리 오 랑게 셈이 없었던 데 사제 때문에 랑게 셈 소시 셈도 딱 지송 거래지 랑게 셈인데 사제 때문에 사제가 되고래 셈 장마서 탁 내가 취시기로 했어 오 대가 랑장마는 랑장마 차네 랑차로도 셔네 이 오나 동에서도 나 셈차로문에 해서 나지니 문도 다 주시에 때도 삼때 나고 요데 다 개들 봐지 랑기 차로도 셔네 이는 남도 되게 되지 되게 잡로 거 공대래 하다 고초 탐지 개주는 상대 대사지 주당 개주는 성분에 다시 개주는 돼 잡로 삽제 잡지 총을 가르쳐거든 나 고초도 잡시대요 배그 말했어 셈지고 그러지 나다 좋아도 세기라 더 사지에 밥에 죽은 남았다고 딱 말이 요래지 너무 자소서 뭐라도 또 용거 요래지 무슨 배우 요래지 내가 김마트가 봤어 요래지 되게 용띠만 먹고 요래 내불러 고요 같이 내가 대일 사지에까지 딱 말이 요래지 너무 그래 대일 애들이 쭈거들이 다 대일하면 내가 지금 따서서라 내가 작업도 쉬었다고 그래 소소 쭈걸 내가 소소 습지 말했어 소소 내식이 뭐 상만을 요래 로가를 둘라 내가 나의 독에도 시작하고도 내가 독에 시작을 가래 독에 매번 대화 치고 어디 제비기는 독에 매번 대화 치고 이는 요 말이지 랑그 샘는 차로도 시작을 잡도다 찍바차 샘나가다 찍바차 륜잡도다 찍바차를 대다 내가 남가도 독에 요 말아 다 출了다 독에 매번 대화 치고 다 문이 도면 독도 지르게 때라 그래 다 축해버리는 망고 그래 다 남들은 축해버리면 따와 찌고 그래 다 라리스타와 케이그만 내가 남들에게 서들라 그래서 사람들이 이제 케이그 그래 내가 대신에 다 찌르라 뛰네 우리랑 체들 독일을 좋다봐 대화를 뒤에봐 자기 그래 대하고서는 대사적들 좀 찌르 뛰네 다 yap들이 뒤텔때 라는 걸 로이치라 쳤다가 뒤때 라는 걸 로이 시작할 때들이 라동 진동이 같이 바탕을 같이 보여래 랑지부터 올라가려 때 탑사적을 뛰들이 점이 찌르 뛰들이 라그라를 다 톱톱이고 사제고 막 톱톱이고 그래서 내 가래래 그 사제 좀 되더랑서 말해서 또 등등이 잡고는 것은 적대이 강의 똥다들 얘는 도대 강제자 정주타대 동적대 동적난 말고 가왜 대사 탑재고 가지고 속는 가지 사지랑 그 탑재지 책격까지 다 삼재지 삼재지 공들 코로 삼재지 너도들 삼재지 못 찾아 들이 삼재지 못 찾아 라고 난디 배와 내 솔라 다 죽비고들이 하고 잘해 너희 말이 나대 돌이 동서 루탑탑지 가리 피고도 난디 셰고도 대하고도 루탑 제 종료 말이지 라긴 야들 떼끌는데 따따따따 잡제는 저강탑제는 저들 내와지 사탑제는 저들 아바비 마탑제는 다 아비되었다 대 동적해야 될 거로 적다고 망고 고요 말이지 대자고도 하고는 그리고 다다다 아바비 루탑 다 쳐보여 봐 대다 참이 좀 연사를 그래서 대양들로 이 직장만으로 내가 지금 셀로 내가 고아론데 잡을게 주봉 제세지도 내 몸을 쪄서 소들 꼬름 참아 요리 손상 남속을 남지는 봐 내몸 뛰더라 요리 대리 사바도 다 용하랬지 대에 말아 이게 토마디 뭐를 주고 어떻게 레자지지네 대문디 생바라 꾸리들이 어떻게 의미나 일이 이야기들이 대문 바꾸래 대대다 석발라 빠초과제래 그리고 빠자면 나게 까지 나게 빼야지 그게 요발이지 이 말을 고모스면 돼 두고래 대체 이 나지자는 차별을 가사가로 타변하고 그래 소망의 대부분을 배 동대래 대회를 뒤타다 밤에 두지제 다가사가로 다 요래지 살림 이하더니 밤에 짜치에 동대리 다 밤에 그 모나면 되네 그 사지 망내야 모나면 짜치는 거래 사지 매라게 봉함체 뭐 균이 다 없어 오늘 사지 작자들 모나면 뭐 응압다 없어 어때들 밤에 그 대리 파과들이甚至 탐제들이 대학교는 모나면 다 봤다 비슷해서 봐 모나면 자치 좀 똑치 좀 돼서 요래 이때로 밤에 좋답다 아자 가르쳐 보여বে 이때를 기소지 비체들 이 좋답 용막 동디바 남들이 터봐 대회를 이렇게 기소를 제대로 다 답답하고 요래 그래서 다 기소를 제만 머리 속에 나가 말이 나 그냥 미치나 뭐지 가고야 미치나 근데 뜻벌을 뛰는 들이랑 다 톡톡 요래
And so in this world, there are also many different sadhanas, really endless sadhanas that we could practice. There are the different levels of teachings of the pratimoksha, the bodhisattva, and the vajrayana path. And among all these teachings, the vajrayana path really represents the essence of all dharma. And the essence of the vajrayana is contained within the sadhana. So what is the purpose of the various sadhanas? There are many different sadhanas. There's longer sadhanas, there's shorter sadhanas, but they all have a single meaning, a single purpose. And that is also the purpose of this Amitabha sadhana. And so in the Fivefold Path of Mahamudra, it says that regarding the Vajrayana sadhana practice, it says that when you realize that everything that appears and exists is the form of the deity, you have mastered the generation stage of the secret mantra, the Vajrayana. So this is the point we need to understand when we practice the sadhana. Then we understand that so everything that appears and exists is the deity. No matter how vast samsara may be, all beings possess the same Buddha nature. And for this reason, even though samsara seems so real right now, because beings possess Buddha nature, these samsaric appearances are just like ice, water that has frozen into ice. So what we need to understand here is that what the essence of ice. Ice needs to be melted. Ice needs heat to be melted. And the heat that melts the ice block is love. So the essence to be understood here is that the 84,000 Dharma teachings have their essence in bodhicitta. And that is essentially a mind of love. But it needs to be immeasurable love. If it is limited love, it is of no benefit. It can actually be harmful because then it becomes self-grasping. We need to have great love for all sentient beings, recognizing them all as our parents. When we cultivate love, then the ice block of our mind will melt. And we have mentioned that many times before. It is the essence of the 37 bodhisattva practices, so I will not go into this again now. But so now, when we practice a sadhana, we first go for refuge in the three jewels. And so why do we do that? Why do we first need to go for refuge? Because when we take refuge, we remember the Buddha, and then we remember the Buddha's teachings, the dharma. And what is the teaching of the Buddha? In brief, the Buddha said, perfectly tame your own mind. This is the Buddha's teaching. So the Buddha said, you have to purify your own mind. That is all essentially, all that we need to do. That is what we need to understand. The Buddha himself had realized that all I need to do is purify my mind. And that really is the skillful method that he gave us. This is the Dharma. When we purify our mind, the ice block of the mind is melting. And you realize that my mind is like space. Within space, there is no self, there is no other. So the one who teaches us that, the one who tells us that is the Sangha. That the Sangha tells you your mind is like space. To realize it, you have to cultivate love. Then the ice block will melt. That is why the Sangha is so important. The Sangha is someone who themselves have purified the ice block of their own mind and therefore are able to show the path to others. So this is why we need to go for refuge in the three jewels. And of the three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha is really most important. So therefore we go for refuge. But of course, if we only go for refuge, that alone is of no benefit too. So that alone will not liberate us. We have to liberate our own mind. And that we do through the practice of the sadhana. So we are practicing the sadhana of the Buddha Amitabha. Buddha Amitabha is the Dharmakaya that is always present. The Sambhogakaya is like a rainbow in the sky that directly appears if we supplicate them. The Sambhogakaya possesses the qualities of omniscience, of love, and of power to grant protection. Many of you are familiar with the many qualities of a Sambhogakaya. You may have read many Dharma books. So the Buddha is always present. The Sambhogakaya is always present. And then there is the Nirmanakaya, and that is the emanation or the manifestation of a Buddha that we directly connect with, that helps us melt the ice block. But then also, everyone is a Nirmanakaya because there are no real sentient beings, because all beings possess Buddha nature. All beings in the six realms are really Nirmanakayas. If you understand that, you know that I can free myself of all suffering. I can attain the state of great happiness that is beyond all suffering. And this is what this is all about. It is just to attain that state. It is just to become free of suffering and to find happiness. And the way to do that is to melt the ice block of one's own mind. And when the ice block has melted, the mind becomes pervasive like space. And space does not experience any suffering. So if we practice the Dharma properly, we can attain a state of great happiness that is free of all suffering. So it is something that can be accomplished. And we can understand that. Even many scientists nowadays have understood that. Most people understand that. There is actually in this world, there is just one view that does not accept that, and we call that a barbarian or materialistic view. They do not accept any religion, any dharma. But aside from that, anyone would accept this view. And so that is the purpose of practicing sadhana. We realize this. We free ourselves from suffering through the sadhana practice. We can free ourselves from suffering in this very lifetime and can achieve happiness in this lifetime. If we practice just a single deity, a single sadhana. So, so as we have said, no matter how vast the teachings may be, everything comes down to a single essence, a single sadhana practice, a single deity. And if you only practice that, you accomplish the purpose of others and yourself. You yourself can attain enlightenment through the practice of a single deity. The Buddha himself had said in the Samadhi Raja Sutra that I have taught the Dharma in thousands of different worlds. And even though my words are distinct, if you practice the meaning of these words, you are practicing all of my teachings. And so what is that one meaning of those words, of all these thousands of teachings that the Buddha had taught? It all comes down to just one single word, and that is love. We need to cultivate love. That is really all we need. And it is the samsaric, the ordinary love that we have. It's that feeling of love, the feeling where we do not think about ourselves. Because as it is said in the 37 practices, all suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. So that is the purpose of sadhana practice. Through practice, we eliminate self-grasping. And it doesn't matter what kind of sadhana we practice, whether it is longer or shorter. But then this practice of the Buddha Amitabha is a practice whereby we can attain the Pure Land. And the essence of all Pure Lands is the Pure Land of Day1. And the essence of all the deities is the Buddha Amitabha. And the essence of all mantras is the Amitabha's mantra. So there is no need for many elaborate practices. This is really all you need. And that is why the practice of the Buddha Amitabha sadhana is extremely precious. And also you should recite the prayer of Sölkha, the aspiration prayer to be born in Day1 by Garchen Rinpoche, again and again. And this is what we have been doing. We are always reading this prayer. And that prayer is also the essence of all the prayers. The 84,000 Dharma teachings are really included within this prayer to be born in Day1. The stages of all paths of pratimoksha, bodhisattva, and vajrayana are all explained in the prayer to be born in Day1. Everything is really included in this prayer, and there is really no prayer that is more profound than this prayer. And that is why also I myself, when I first was released from prison, the first real prayer that I wanted to print and distribute was this prayer of birth in Day1. It was printed on wood blocks, and at that time there was also no sponsor. Everything kind of had to be done in secret. And so I myself actually paid for that, I sponsored that, and I spent about like 3 yuan or so a day to print these prayers. And eventually we were able to distribute them throughout the entire region of Nangchen back in Tibet. So, and because this prayer is so significant, that is why I chose this prayer for distribution in the very beginning. And so then we have been able to print many more copies of this prayer, and we were able to spread it all around the world, in the East and the West. So there are many prayers and many Buddhas that have appeared, but this is a very special prayer. For example, there is the Medicine Buddha, and the Medicine Buddha made 12 major aspiration prayers. And it is said the Buddha Shakyamuni made 500 prayers. But then the Buddha Amitabha's aspiration is even more vast, because his aspiration is for all sentient beings to be born in his Pure Land of Day1. So therefore it is really the essence of all aspiration prayers. And so again, this is why this practice of the Buddha Amitabha and the sadhana is so important. And we are now again practicing this sadhana sort of also as a reminder to bring us back to this practice. There are many different sadhanas that we practice here at the center. And it is just that we don't have the time to go now to practice each of them so extensively, because there's many different programs that we have. But now we go again and again into those practices for a short while. We practice the sadhana for a short while as a reminder for us on how important this practice is. But actually, if you, even though we spend a short time practicing it here, if you just take this practice, the Amitabha practice, and practice only this for the rest of your life, you can become liberated only through this practice.
쇼키고 싸먹더라고. 근데 삼재들이 양다 보자고 그러지. 너희가 이제 당지리스 가래는 다들이 맞으면 이거는 같이 자꾸만 다들 자이스 안에잖아. 그리고 내 용용로 사태지 실제로 그래. 도마도는 똑같이 자그래. 로마까지 쭉 가리게 자그래지. 오, 내가 이제지 삼재들이 딱 보자고 그랬어. 너희가 이제 당지리스 가르치는 나중에 그 사람들은 피다가 나오는데 눈치고 피다가 와도 다소 유를 되지. 때려들이 타도는 거리, 때려들이 세다는 거리, 때려들이 세나는 거리. 나중에 맞으면 이제 용을 뒤다고 하고 소는 들리다. 네, 밤에 저밖에 내 문들이 양다는데 또나 사실 주로 이제 또 소장 람하 섬 람제를 마탐지 세도라 내 문을 마탐지 찍자요 말이지. 내 답게 쳐들는들이 네 생각을 동지를 못 지금 많이 지부터 밤을 뒤지. 그 말은 내 통구만 되게 생각을 다음에 이런 맛 듣지 말때 뒤지. 초가되다 너무 따로 뒤지바이. 대외에 대답을 쳐들봐 동지봐. 대답을 뒤바이. 대답을 참에게 강연 양선님부터 탑을 대해서 냐면서라. 그래서 다 대대. 그 어바면 저 소문지 제발 가래. 사지 좀 되게 소문을 너도 소문을 내가 진심함. 대소문도 가면 이제 사지에 빠면 홀로 저기 잡아오지 아이래. 그래 우리 사지도 막 사지 좀 되는데 잡아도 룸보 잡지 들지. 공문지 잡아도 룸보지 아이래 습지 좀 제요. 이까지들이 담색 쳐보면 이 사지 좀 되는데 다 빠면 그 표현도 정당도 망도서가 동영되리. 그래서 다부터 산지 ጨ가 가는 데 들이 다 내가 진심한데 찍어 들래. 그래서 다 보려다 다디 demon chapter chimor tata kata gemi sobaji ta roma na ta ta sela toma lo chetara gemi domali tri ta so tri ta ko to bude gumpa da yi cha be da ba yo do tri ta ta je telema papa ta je guma na ndo ta ta ro do ba so ngal ka bo yo ta gemi chi de te ta bo te ta ko do tri da ye sa no ta ma tri do ta je ko ti ne yung ti de shi so 이라랑 소소하게 되려면 어디 저기 값많이 봐. 가도困难데 저 당연히 오는데 이렇게 용이 되면 이 맞지 뭐래.
So I myself have great faith in this prayer of Day1. And what is the root of this prayer? It is bodhicitta. So even though we are living a samsaric life, and so now I've thought on that many times before, also in the context of the 37 practices. So even though we live samsaric ordinary lives, actually samsara first really starts when we get married, and so then. However, even though that's an ordinary life, there is a right way to get married or to be married to someone. So even though we spend our life in an ordinary way in samsara, it doesn't have to be ordinary actually. So, however, if we don't know the proper way of being married, then marriage is like two birds with their wings tied together. You have no freedom, and you always fight with each other because you just can't fly. You're trying to fly, but you can't. But then, if you know how to be married, then the marriage itself can actually become virtue. It can become dharma practice. And what is most important when we are married is to keep our vows, the vow to each other, pure, so that we do not engage in adultery, sexual misconduct, and we really stay together for the rest of our lives. Then this ordinary love becomes bodhicitta, and then the marriage has become dharma practice. And I mentioned that before many times, also out of experience from what people have been telling me. For example, we have a Dharma center over in Virginia. And there were, in the past, there were a man and a woman, a bit elderly man and a woman who were married for a long time. Their entire life they've been together, and then they came to me and we spoke, and I told them, you should sustain your love, your bodhicitta, your vows to each other, and then dedicate the virtue of that for all sentient beings. Then you are able to transform something that could be poison into medicine. And so then it also becomes a practice of the secret mantra. So this is what I've told them, and they were really happy about that. And so, and then they spent their life together. And it's not just them, this is just one small example. There's many examples like that in the world. So if we take the ordinary love that we have and we follow the Buddha's instruction in sustaining this love and not committing sexual misconduct, then this love becomes bodhicitta. So the Buddha had said, when we practice refraining from sexual misconduct, that becomes bodhicitta. And he said that in the context of the layperson vows. And so then coming back to that couple, so eventually the wife passed away. And then after her death, I spoke to her husband and told him to just read the prayer to be born in Day1 over and over again. And he was so happy about that, and he really trusted and believed in that. And if we separate from each other, when somebody dies and we've spent our lives together and we have loved each other, we will always stay connected from lifetime to lifetime, also in the future. And we will be each other's friends of virtue, of dharma. So this is how a marriage then really has become dharma practice. So the most important thing to keep in mind when you're married is to sustain your love and to not engage in sexual misconduct. If you engage in sexual misconduct or adultery, you're really just creating more suffering upon suffering. So just to understand that is really beneficial, so we can see the quality in the Buddha's instructions. And so again, the root of the 84,000 teachings is love, is bodhicitta. If we understand that, then anything can become dharma practice. Everything becomes those 84,000 dharma teachings. Even an ordinary samsaric activity, a worldly activity, a job that you have, everything becomes dharma practice. Everything can be transformed into love. So if you just know how to hold on to your love, anything can become merit. And this is also something we often mention in the context of vajrayana practice. In the dedication of vajrayana, it says, I dedicate all the roots of virtue accumulated with body, speech, and mind in the 3 times, and then I transform them and dedicate them to complete perfection. And so we transform, that is the key point here, the key word, we transform into perfection. So there are many opportunities to accumulate merit, but they often go wasted because we do not know how to transform any circumstance into merit, because we do not understand the quality of love, and therefore we waste a lot of opportunities to accumulate merit. So if you recognize that, you will not waste those opportunities, and you will seize them and dedicate that merit. And this is how merit increases more and more. And this is how we perpetuate merit. So in brief, we need to come to the essence. So in your entire life, if you're not able to do any other elaborate practice, if you only practice Amitabha and you just recite the prayer to be born in Day1, it is sufficient. It is the essence of the 84,000 Dharma teachings. And so how are the 84,000 teachings contained? First, we go for refuge. Then next, we cultivate bodhicitta. And so then we are instructed now we have to meditate Amitabha, and we have to visualize all of these Buddhas and visualize this and that and the Pure Land. But actually, where does it all come from, all these visualizations? It all comes from the mind. So all of these Buddhas and the deities and Buddhas in the Pure Land, it all arises and dissolves back into the mind. That is why we often make a prayer, may my mind merge into one with the Guru's mind. Because this is how we receive the Guru's blessings. Whether or not we receive the Guru's blessings depends on whether or not we can see that. And so if you find that your love and your patience are increasing, then you have received the Guru's blessings. Actually, the Guru's mind and the disciple's mind are one and the same. There is just a temporary difference in the level of how much love we possess. If you also develop great love, your mind is exactly the same as the Guru. So that is the blessing. The real blessing is love. Love arising in your own mind. So that is what you should keep in mind when you recite the sadhana or this prayer. You have to be very clear about this. So for example, in the morning when we recite these opening prayers, may beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, I always say this word cause or gyu a bit stronger. And that is when you have to very strongly remember this cause of happiness is love. I have to hold on to that all the time. And we say, may beings be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. That is self-grasping. We always just think about ourselves. It's all me, me, me. And there is no afflictive emotion that does not arise from that self. So recognize when you read that, my real enemy is that self, is me. And I must cultivate great love. When great love arises, this me, the self-grasping, will diminish. So that is why I always say this out really loud in Tibetan. I say "gyu" very strongly. Actually, once a disciple asked me, why do you always shout in the middle of the prayer? It's because of this cause, the cause of happiness. We have to bring that strongly to mind. You have to hold on to this cause of happiness, that is love. And you have to let go of the cause of suffering, that is self-grasping. So that is important, because sometimes people think that, why? Because sometimes it's good to think about oneself. And of course, sometimes there can be some benefit to that, but in the end, it always leads to suffering. It's always harmful, because if we think of ourselves only, then it always leads to other emotions, such as jealousy or anger and stinginess and so on. They all arise from this concept of me. And so think about this, bring this to mind as you now practice the Buddha Amitabha sadhana and recite the prayer to be born in Day1. Think about this again and again. When you read the prayer to be born in Day1, everything is contained within this prayer. The 3 levels of the path of Pratimoksha, Bodhisattva, and the Vajrayana path. And so because it really represents the essence of all practice, our Singapore Lama, Tenzin Rinpoche, he requested for an Amitabha sadhana to be written. So he asked me to write a very short, easy to practice Amitabha sadhana. And so I was thinking about it, how am I going to do this, since I don't really see so well. So I asked Lama Thupsang to act as my scribe, and so he wrote down those words that I dictated to him, and he really thought about how to kind of arrange it all into a sadhana. And so this is how I basically created or wrote this sadhana. And it's something that anybody can practice. Even if you can't do many other practices, just practice this. Everything is included. Actually, the qualities of the Buddha Amitabha were also mentioned many times by the Buddha Shakyamuni himself. The Buddha Shakyamuni in his sutras praises the Buddha Amitabha extensively. And that is because the Buddha Amitabha and the Buddha Shakyamuni have a past life connection with one another. In a previous aeon, the Buddha Amitabha was a wheel-turning king, and at that time, the Buddha Shakyamuni was that king's minister. So they share the minister, the Dhamsadur. So these two share a very strong samaya with each other, the samaya of benefiting sentient beings together. And that is why now in this time and age, the Buddha Shakyamuni praises the Buddha Amitabha and speaks much about the benefits of Amitabha practice. So just practice this, even if you can't practice anything else. If you just practice the Amitabha Sadhana and recite the prayer to be born in Day1, that is really all you need. Also nowadays in Tibet, for example, many elderly people practice just that. There's also a tradition for the elderly people to come to the monastery and take the layperson vows. Of course, it's difficult for them to become fully ordained, but they come to take the layperson vows and to spend the rest of their lives in practice. And this prayer of birth in Day1 is very popular among them. And so that is also an excellent practice to do, to take those vows. And so now if you just practice this one sadhana and read this one prayer and understand the qualities of this prayer and the Buddha Amitabha. And it's also a practice that I myself always engage in. So this is something that's extremely beneficial, and it's something that you don't have to do all the time, like in a retreat and so on. Whenever you have time, just practice it whenever you can, and whenever you practice it, if you just practice it on an ongoing basis, it will be very beneficial. Please take a break for 20 minutes.
Page number 17. Visualization for the mantra recitation.
Appearing as Chenrezig on a moon disk is a Hri surrounded by the 6-syllable mantra circling clockwise. From it, light radiates and a white mantra garland issues forth, emerges from my heart and dissolves into the heart of the deity visualized in front. Thus, Amitabha's compassionate heart pledge of body, speech, and mind is invoked. From the mantra garland around the Hri at the heart of Amitabha, a red mantra garland of light emerges from his mouth, enters my mouth, and I obtain blessings and attainments. In this way, the mantra circles continuously between myself and Amitabha. The multicolored light issuing from the circling mantra garland pleases the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, purifies the 3 types of obscurations and all sentient beings in the 3 realms, and the universe and beings transform into the pure land of Sukhavati.
Babi to King Captain, Devaki, the Jewish song, they sing with your the distinction of the Devaki Monam, the Chipu, Latin, as I beat up from Amonian Zom, Amitabha Accumulation, Zetam Zetina, Retata, dropped up Tamchi, dropped up to the Shigo. Dropped up to the take the do, my only do your Deshigore. The dropped up to you, the Horabakari, the hotel. Oh, the boat jumps in dogs. They call him, what chose them with Japsho dogs. They were the Japsho of the dogs. Oh, what chose the Japsho Guru. Oh, Sanji been a chubin, Gendu meaning what you call him Hako. It's a ta, or Tata Sanji that Chuji commander, Gendu and the dogs. Oh, that girl Gendu, and so down she talks on Gendu, the talks Sanji. Oh, that was also Munin do it. Never got me, young dear Dory. Oh, Gendu, that got never got a gossip at the road. Gossip at the Gendu, got your courage. Oh, number not on the water, the sausage opportunity. San Nang San Chok say you are. Celebrity the rose so tight, you can trip of Tamadi, so tight the top. Pepsi, there is tobacco, doctor, they show you. They got it. Make people married. Water the sausage order. They take a simply don't take it. Simply don't get it. Someday or you call it. GP law. They get it on Yin Sapoy. They got it to do him, can't see, but the road to do Javo Yore, the road to do so Jokti Yore, Koto de Bellas, Saka Shadley, Goga Sacha Tamuni, Yaka Sacha Tomotan, Sacha to start some Roshi, Puli, Jadachi, Mambo, Kashi, Pael Sandro, Goga, they wrote the two Yore. Take the two delicacy, when Sassum from Sakachina, they wrote the Langa, number Langa, Koto, Hako, they allow you such check at the Nashi go. They, when the team potato shuttle 3, Chatham and brought to Yoma 3, Chatham, the Lopade Lara 3, Goka Share, Kajeshi, Polado, then Senegatel Mambo, your no, water, those horses of Chilita, already. They took a tobacco to the take Yore. There the city to Unkebala. They told the Genu's the Cotter, May Zoki, 3 to roll to this Zoki, 3 Lala Gelong, Lala to Malala Nawa, Drama and Doro Semicary, Roto Similar Sancho Sayo to worry. Ye people wrote the joke to worry. For they took some with the Dandy in Charo, they shut up worry. Don't cheat about the touch the Maimba, Sotartipo Maimba, Santipo Maimba, Sanatipo Maimba, Sotar Santis and Hatam, Tambo Sotar de Chago Macare, Sipsi. Sansever got the day I shall Jator Tore, Jatora Tungo. Somehow got the Jator Lapar Temjo, or Jator the Zeri Matabari, Namkata Tabari, somehow the Namkata, Sotar so Chatham Jelly. Or Sansi come to Samat in Charlie Japsota Kipocha. Somehow there were 3 Tato Namkar Cheshire by the Jeti come to the Tong. There is same thing, no, you might say. The Taptilatuna, Tambo Jamno, there is same tea, 3 parts of the Jam, the so long Sapati, 3 Devati the Jajana, Tambo Toast, the Troyans are the Jambo Red. Or told me, you did go just so sad of young dinner. That you're not the mother. You're not the mother carrier dinner. You're not the body. Majaki in Masatari in art. Do Chata selling upon Chubam in art. She dang a lot of Yumova, the Pasaka in art. When she dang Kinas. You take to Kaiki or she does the Shai or she don't water, so down Lam was something. Pneumonia shit, pneumonia bang, Jerry Shism. So taki you car bangu or it. Sansever or Sacho several directly, Magia of the Nangi. Somehow you move a crazy shit, not what you read. 7 years old, you move a Kakari, Nimungarangi, she did. Lamter Basam to Comode. There's some Lamter Basam this Bena. Sotardi Motaton on the Ori. Sansit really on the Ori. So hard as Nalan on the Lamber Basam, the Tiparte Ori. There are only she thought of Sunamratini, the Lamber Basam coming Jognati, and Sunamra by it.
Also in the context of the Amitabha retreat, we must understand the four causes of birth in the Pure Land of Day1. And we are creating these causes by just actually reading the prayer of to be born in Day1. And then many, often hundreds of people coming together and reciting the Amitabha mantra together. So again, to understand those four causes, we have to know how to bring all the sadhanas into one sadhana, all practices into one practice. And by that, we mean not just the words, we're not bringing the words into one essence, but the meaning into one essence. So what's the meaning then of all the sadhanas? When we go through the different stages of sadhana practice. First, we always take refuge. So we have to go to refuge in the three jewels. Because if there would be no Buddha, then there would be no dharma. And if there would be no dharma, there would be no sangha. If there would be no sangha, we would not know anything. And the Sangha comes from knowing the Dharma. So the Sangha therefore really represents the Dharma. The body of a Sangha is the Sangha, and the speech is the Dharma, and the mind is the Buddha. So a Sangha member really represents the three jewels. And then also there is the result, the fruition. The guru also, the Sangha represents the fruition. So he also embodies the three kayas, the Dharma kaya, Sambhoga kaya, and Nirmana kaya. And the Sangha's body, for example, is the Nirmana kaya. And the Nirmana kaya appears throughout the 6 realms of samsara, in the individual forms, the bodies of the sentient beings in the 6 realms. Even though the Nirmanakaya appears in the form of a sentient being, inside their mind is bodhicitta. And then externally they may appear as an animal. It is said that the Buddha appears in the 6 realms of samsara. There is a Buddha in each of the 6 realms of samsara, so not just in the human realm. And in those 6 realms, the Buddha, various Buddhas benefit sentient beings. And then how do they benefit sentient beings? It is through a mind of love, a mind of altruism. You may think that, animals, they don't know anything. But actually, if you look closer in the animal realm, they also have leaders, like a king or a protector who looks after the other animals. For example, when we think about birds, they know that when it gets cold in winter, they know how to go somewhere else where it's warmer. And then they know how to come back in summertime. In Tibet, we have such birds, I think it's the cuckoo, different kinds of birds that are there for as long as it's warm, and then when it gets cold, they are flying over to Nepal in wintertime. And then later they're coming back and they know which path, which way to go. So there is actually one leading bird that flies in the beginning, and then all the other birds follow the lead bird, the king bird. And then often, actually, when that main bird, the leader bird, the guide bird dies, some obstacles arise and it dies, then often the other birds don't know where to go. They're lost. They're lost wherever that country or that place where that happens. and often they die. Many scientists also have documented that. So in any case, the Buddhas appear in the forms of sentient beings throughout the 6 realms of samsara, and in all those places they benefit sentient beings. And so in the human world, the Nirmanakaya appears, for example, as a Sangha member. But then they also appear in the animal realm, in the bodies of various beings. But in brief, their essence is a mind of bodhicitta, a mind of altruism. That is what they all possess. They help others melt the ice block of self-grasping. So they do so not just through one way, not just through the pratimoksha or just through the bodhisattva path or just through the vajrayana, but by using the 3 levels of the path. Also, when we think about it in terms of a progression, in the beginning, on the level of pratimoksha, or individual liberation, we are like an ice block, an ordinary sentient being. And then when we reach the bodhisattva path, the ice block connects with the water and begins to melt into the ocean water. And then when we reach the vajrayana path, we completely dissolve into the ocean, or we become like space. So temporarily, we are in a temporary kind of conventional or relative sphere of existence where compounded phenomena are impermanent, but our ultimate real nature is like space, and space is not impermanent. It is endless, and that's the essence of the vajrayana. So first, in the pratimoksha, there is the appearance of all sorts of beings, like animals and humans and so on, different forms. And then in the bodhisattva path, it all dissolves into one. And then ultimately in the vajrayana path, we realize that this one nature, this space-like nature, transcends birth and death. So even if the entire world comes to an end, the mind does not come to an end. So when we practice a sadhana, again, we begin by going for refuge. And so that is, now coming back to those 4 causes that lead to birth in Day1. So the first cause that leads to birth in Day1 is the support of visualizing the refuge tree or the field of accumulation. So we go for refuge. And so here we first need to understand the qualities of the 3 jewels. Then the second cause is called the cause which is accumulating merit and purifying obscurations. Accumulating merit and purifying obscurations, in essence, is the practice of the 7 branches. So those 7 branches are first the branch of prostration, and that is an antidote to pride. The second one is making offerings. That is an antidote to attachment and stinginess. And then is the confession, and that is the antidote to mainly the affliction of hatred, but also all the other afflictive emotions. But for example, even if you get very angry, it's something that can become purified, or we can lay that aside if we confess. And there are different ways of doing that, depending on which path we practice. There are ways of transforming the afflictions ultimately into wisdom. There are 3 methods of transforming the afflictions. They are abandonment, transformation, and knowledge. So first, when we practice according to the pratimoksha, we abandon. We abandon the afflictive emotions, so we avoid them. And then second, when we come to the bodhisattva path, when our mind connects to bodhicitta, we are transforming the afflictions. And for this reason, it is said that if there is bodhicitta, then sometimes a negative, so a seemingly negative action is permitted. And then in the vajrayana path, there's knowledge. We recognize that the afflictive emotion by nature actually is primordial awareness, because the afflictive emotion in the end is a mental arising. And when you realize the nature of your mind, then you see that there is no separate mind or mental arising, that the afflictive emotion is the nature of your mind, is your primordial awareness. So that is the difference in approach when it comes to the 3 levels of the path. So the pratimoksha path is similar to driving a car. The bodhisattva path is similar to traveling on a train, and the vajrayana path is similar to traveling on an airplane. And whichever path one enters and practices mainly also depends on one's understanding and one's own merit.
대학교도 이제 비쳤어. 대학 철들이 초아 때 냠리진 딱딱 창대 로섬 창는 데라 대리 대판 망도 렌도 돈 거요래. 오 딱딱 초아 때 열래 대하고서 너도 세번랑 지리 세번랑 지리 세번 다 가려줘 다도 난디도 파 양성은 자오를셔서 처리해 돼. 다속 대하고서 그 냠리 가려주는 가라메 봐요래. 사까세 만나 사적보도 되고 라면디 세 무고도 나오지 봤던 좀 bet에 제름 중거리 제름도 다도 조름 제름 타로 돌을 타게 이 양들 리시에 대로 초가적이면 이제나 우리 로마고냐면 이제나 대삼지 동집과 차대요 하고는 얘네들이 다 너는 세번 리시고 세번도 말했는데 세번 나한테 총들도 따따라 공리시 와는 남남적감이 Lamas Sanchoksen Hakor, Sanchoksen Lang Samte, Lamas Semko Samte, Yemi Bahakona, Ritata Lama Romani Separcare, Ya. Lama Samte or Sama Sebi or Lama Kate down there, Samte Bricham, Samte or it. Robala Dandi Chebor, Dandi the Samte di Tona, Chargo Chatawa di Tona, each other Chodo, Lama Tanasi Saji and Jelly. 철을 제발 싸워요, 말. 대체 용보들라. 사제 동지가 sem지는 사제니 있어. 말에 변 남시망도系统 sem지삼지 사제는 통도 sem지삼지 대체 용보도 통을. 우리 sem지 직접만 통촉을 찌를 다 다상제고 가체베지 대체 요래. 대다운 남들 리시나. 예비 조각 가래 나는 길에 남가지로 레비직도 제 토고요래. 대비 보여야 돼.
And then rejoicing is the antidote to jealousy. And requesting to turn the wheel of dharma is the antidote to ignorance. And dedication is the antidote to self-grasping or grasping at the virtues we have accumulated. So that is really the essence of all practice. Even if you would engage in a 3-year retreat, this is really the path that you would follow. It just is a little bit longer. But it also begins with taking refuge, doing prostrations, then cultivating bodhicitta and so on. It's nothing else really. All of it is included in this short sadhana. And all of these practices are for the purpose of realizing the nature of the mind. So this is what we first need to understand. We cultivate faith. When we cultivate faith in that. This is the purpose, why I'm practicing the Dharma. And then, as we are on the path in the middle, what do we cultivate faith in, or what do we are faithful in? We have faith in bodhicitta. That has to arise in our mind. From bodhicitta, all the enlightened qualities of a Buddha arise. And in the end of our practice, we dedicate our virtue. We recite aspiration prayers. And that's the essence of the 7 branches. And all the practices are included within that. Now, in the Nyingma tradition, it is even more condensed. And the Nyingma speaks about the 3 excellences, 3 excellent practices. And everything is included within only those 3 steps. The first one is the preparation, where we first cultivate bodhicitta. The second one is the main part practice that is engaged in without any thoughts. And in the end, there is the conclusion, which is the dedication prayer. So everything is included in that. In the beginning, there is bodhicitta. In the main part practice, we practice Mahamudra without concepts. And in the end, we dedicate our virtues. So that is the 3 excellences, which in essence are the 7 branches too. So we have to know how to properly practice the path of Pratimoksha, Bodhisattva, and the Vajrayana. we have to be able to bring it all into one single ultimate essence. And in the context of Buddha Amitabha practice, or any sadhana practice, it ultimately comes down to the essence that is the completion stage. The essence of the sadhana is the completion stage. So what is the completion stage? All the different rituals, the different sadhanas culminate in the completion stage. In brief, the completion stage is to recognize that appearances are one's own mind. Just understand that, and then you do not engage in any thinking. You don't think in an affirmative way or a negating way. Yet the mind remains free from the four extremes of existence and non-existence. And when the mind remains in such a state, it will result in realizing Mahamudra. Milarepa also said that the result, the fruition, is found within your own mind. This is where you find the Buddha. You see the Buddha when you see your own mind. You see that your own mind is inseparable from the Buddha. And this fruition is what we call, or Milarepa called, consciousness transferring into primordial awareness. Now, there appears to be a dualistic existence, an existence where we see self and other. Milarepa said that there is no two, there is no separation. Milarepa saw that self and other, samsara and nirvana, are all inseparable. That is what he meant with, you find the fruition in your own mind. You find the three kayas in your own mind. And ultimately, the essence of the three kayas is the dharma kaya. Ultimately, we must find back to the dharma kaya. And that is the essence of the completion stage, to dissolve back into the dharma kaya. And until we have realized our own dharma kaya, we practice the going for refuge, taking refuge in the three jewels, cultivating bodhicitta, the 7 branches, those 4 causes that lead to birth in Day1. And so the more you practice, the more the ice block will melt. The more the sun shines. The more sun there is, the more the ice will melt. So you understand the importance of love, and the more you cultivate it, the more merit you attain, and the more their self-grasping will diminish. So to summarize those 4 causes of birth in Day1, so we first cultivate we visualize the field of accumulation, which is the refuge field, which is the support. Then we purify obscurations and accumulate merit. Then we cultivate the support of bodhicitta, or love. And then in the end, we dedicate with perfect aspiration prayer. In this way, when you practice the Amitabha Sadhana, all practices are included within that. And as we engage in the practice, it's also important to practice it with pure perception and faith. And that really is the essence of, for example, a 3-year retreat. It's just this 3-year retreat is going on much longer, but it's really the essence of what we are practicing here. It is for the purpose of realizing the nature of your mind. It is in order to purify self-grasping, to melt the ice block into water, to recognize that ice is water. That's the ultimate purpose, and there is nothing else. So no matter how many practices or deities there may be, that is the essence of all of them. So in the beginning, we practice the deity, we visualize the deity. This is the generation stage. The various appearances, there's all these appearances that actually appear. And in the end, all of this has to dissolve in the completion stage, where we realize the emptiness of all those appearances. So even though you may practice for many years, this is the ultimate thing that you need to understand, that nothing else. what you need to cultivate is a certainty. You need to gain confidence in seeing your true nature. And you do that by reducing self-grasping. In the Guru Yoga practice, we have also mentioned before, we need to understand that the actual Guru is bodhicitta. So the mind of the Guru and your own mind are one and the same. But there is a difference in how much love there is. The Guru possesses immeasurable love for all beings. But in essence, the mind is the same. No matter how bad that Guru may be, any Guru possesses love for others. And that really makes them different from many of their disciples. The disciples often have very strong self-grasping. But then when self-grasping meets together with love, it is like ice meeting with hot water, and the ice will melt. And in the end, there is no separation, no distinction between them. On the level of Buddha nature, we are all the same. That is why the Buddha said, within all beings, or all beings are actually Buddhas. And Milarepa said, I see no ordinary consciousness, I only see primordial wisdom. I see no sentient beings, I only see Buddhas. What he saw is Buddha nature. And if you see Buddha nature, you see no real sentient beings. There are no real sentient beings. When you see that, this is how a pure perception arises. So no matter what sadhana or ritual or practice you engage in, if you know how to practice it in this way, you practice the essence of any practice. So it's very important to understand that it all leads to the same essence.
상제 되고 상제 되고 다들 공조 좀 되지 능용도 단답을 능용도 말해. 그 강나 상쪽 생물의 대답제 상제게 상쪽 세바 대상제들이 포는 지내도 뭐 이제 말이 좀 다 대바 되는 다난 그 상하 다난 거리 나지를 걸 고할지 강나 상쪽 정말 강매 봐요리 대 탐제 세부정은 비자다 대마송나 오 더블 키로 나 사자지 뭐나 내려오디 네 코이시들이 총총총총 센터 너도 차로리 다음에 대바는 타마 다마고 소리 나시 라걸 고할지 사가지를 벗어서 상하게 지는 다 마다니 뭐 타마 다 과니 랑 강마다 랑을 로를 또 대마다 말이 나 대마다 아래들이 타마마다 와 통구요리 나서 이제 다 과를 로를 쳐 우저 로를 쳐 뎁스 상지에서 정말 다 대바르되고 나한테 답지 내 상지에서 강나지래 말아 이거 만도 받디 독자래 대상 정성 정나 그지 상지 용디 하고 다음 대바 되는 상지 용디 상지 야총다고 있는 가래도 때라 집에 이시요리 때문에 특히 집에 이시가 집이 답지 참되니 내무감이 속을 내무도 양당양도 들이지 아바베 들어가라 내무도 고아리나 하는 걸로 보자 예수가 대로저 기체 문제 세계를 망고래 랑그랑 고아는 야고요래 오 상제리 집에 이시도 없지 때문에 특히 마치고 보다는 없지 내부터는 상제 다음에 말이 용왕아에 가는 참여 피바다 내와 탐지 상제가 누구도 없지 십자리세 상제 사와지 여기서 무슨 말이 상제 같은 용왕아한테 상제리 오늘 니는 왔다는 거리 랑을 내니 마사라들이 민수를 통해서 랑을 내그래 랑을 나디게 그래 막 돌록 달아지 대til되나 근데 대바도 다음에 대바는 상제가 용진 상제 가서 찾아봐 맞춰봐매 봐 때마다 랑을 샘대세가 사제에 뭐 대다고 다음에 대바 네번 대바데 샘지 농하나 내가 농하나 로버트만 탐지 예고들 돌고들 코알을 돌고 살는데 버티봐 이치에 되어 same ji tab ju la ge sang ge ne long tong la sang ge ne long tong sam ji ta ba sang ji de cha gong de du de le xue tong ta ma sang ji le是一起的哦 same de sam ji le che le la ge same de na kha ta cha ro de na kha la ka ni ka yo me ba tang ni chu ge de wa chim bo le de la ge same de wa chim bo cha tu ge ro大的马多罗多多多，能多个做了的，这是长没把就来的把差的多，这不这个，但是个电影片或者这个差中，然后把差没生活了的，或者生活的上街的哪怕到的这阿哥了，这里嘛那边生到哪怕前面的这个龙的就把一种，我们讲的讲生到哪怕到就这个有的是，这哪怕了在地方去不了的。다 대화도 못 토야 요리 때문에 아까 속고 내가지 속고를 야대 자기 대화로 싸우면 돼 말이지 대화 치고 말이지 네 스스로 대화 자체에 빠져서 놀아와지 이거로서 당의 대화는 너의 대화 예측의 대화 좀 그래지 이 초정자들 것도 대화 속을 버리 사진의 용띠들이 이렇게 보여요.
And so today, on the first day of our retreat, I will explain the first cause, which is the support of visualizing the field of accumulation, or the refuge field. And so here, it's most important to cultivate faith, the three kinds of faith: the clear faith, the longing faith, and the trusting faith. So first, no matter what sadhana you practice, we always first take refuge. And in the context of taking refuge, faith and trust are most important. So there's three kinds of faith. The first one is the clear faith. So that means that you clearly see the qualities of the three jewels of the Buddha. So you might think that, oh, there is just those three jewels in the world. There's not that many. But that is not true, because whoever gives rise to bodhicitta is a bodhisattva. And knowing that, from that also arises a pure perception. Then you will see all males as Chandresik and all females as Tara. So clear faith is also related to a pure perception. And a pure perception is the essence of the vajrayana. As you have mentioned before, you should see everything that appears and exists as the deity. This is how the bodhisattvas see it, because everything arises from the same mind. Otherwise, if we don't see it that way, even though we practice, we will still hold on to fixed ideas such as, I practice Sakya and we are the ones, or I practice Gelugpa and so on. And then the mind becomes very narrow, very small, tied up. So therefore, we begin with a clear faith, which is related to a pure perception. That's how we begin. We begin by seeing everything that appears and exists as the deity, because this is the generation stage, the essence of generation stage of the Vajrayana. And the real meaning of this quote is that there is ultimately nothing that is impure. Everything is pure. There is no pure impure. Everything is pure. If there's anything that's impure for the time being, it is my own temporary confusion, my own delusion, my confused mind. Ultimately, fundamentally, everything is pure. So the Buddha therefore said, beings are only obscured by adventitious stains. So first recognize that everything that appears and exists is the deity. Everywhere is the Pure Land. If there's anything that's bad, it's my own self-grasping. If you cultivate bodhicitta, you recognize that everything is pure, and then you will see the enlightened qualities in everyone. So when you understand the qualities of the Buddha with clear faith, the qualities that you see in the Buddha or the rainbow-like deity is that the deity possesses an omniscient mind, omniscient wisdom. This mind pervades all sentient beings. And the deity also possesses compassionate love for all beings. During this Amitabha retreat, you should read the prayer for rebirth in Day1 over and over again and really try to understand its meaning, because it's very important. There are also many commentaries on that prayer out there. It's just important that you really understand it for yourself. And so when you read it, an understanding arises where you feel that, oh, this is the omniscient quality of the Buddha, or this is the quality of the Buddha's great love. The Buddha loves all beings like a mother loves her child. Or this is the enlightened activity of the Buddhas. The Buddhas pervade all the 5 elements. The Buddhas are anything that brings benefit and happiness to sentient beings. Jigten Sumgön said that everything that, everything like the Buddhas act in, and everything that's done in the field of knowable things, or anything that's done in this world, is done by a Buddha. So the 5 elements, everything in this world is really ultimately the Buddha. It's all Buddhas. It is just that you might feel that while there's still harm caused by the elements, for example, well, that is because of your own negative karma. It is because of our own negative karma that we transform something that's medicinal into poison. It is because of self-grasping, the afflictive emotions, wrong views, misunderstandings, partial understandings, and so on. So first, we have to cultivate a clear faith that understands the qualities of the Buddhas, and understands that the Buddhas pervade all sentient beings. There is nothing that's not pervaded by the Buddha. My own mind is the Buddha. So that understanding is the clear faith. Then second is the longing faith. And that is to understand that all beings, we all temporarily suffer. But this suffering is a temporary obscuration. We can remove this obscuration. We can become liberated. We have to become liberated from samsara. That is longing for liberation. Then the third is the trusting faith. And that is to trust, to know that you believe that all sentient beings are really Buddhas. So whenever they see the nature of their mind, they all will be Buddhas. You trust in that. You know that when the ice block meets with heat, it will melt and become water. You trust in that. You trust that if I in my mind give rise to love, my mind will become like space. And when the mind is like space, space has no suffering. There is no problem in space. I really can become that. I can realize that. I can attain the state of the greatly blissful Dharmakaya. I can become that. When I purify my wrong views, my misunderstandings, partial understandings, and so on. Of course, until I have realized that, there is an endless cycle of birth and death that drives us to take rebirth over and over again. It's our karmas and karmic patterns that cause us to take limitless birth. So one life we may be here in this world, another life we may be an animal, and so forth. The imprints of our mind cause us to take birth, but ultimately we come back to the Dharmakaya. So Milarepa had said, when you realize that mind is not separate from space, you have realized the Dharmakaya. When I meditate, I can realize that. I can realize that my mind is like space. I can attain this state of great bliss because that is my true nature. And that is the ultimate happiness to be attained. So it's not, some people think that I just want to get rich and then I will be happy. But that's not the ultimate happiness, the true bliss, the true happiness. Because we have said before, the happiness of the three planes of existence is like a dewdrop on a tip of a blade of grass. It won't last. So when we cultivate the first cause of Day1, which is the visualization of the refuge field, or we call it the support, the cause, which is the support. Here we first must cultivate these three kinds of faith. And when we cultivate faith in the context of Amitabha practice, we bring to mind the qualities of the Buddha Amitabha. And of these three kinds of faith, the trusting faith is most important. So what does this really mean? What do we really trust in? It is to trust that if I am able to remember Amitabha, I will be liberated from the suffering of the three lower realms. So for that, you should really understand suffering first. Look at suffering. So why do we suffer? So we suffer because of the karma we have accumulated with an afflicted mind, with self-grasping. And so the important thing to understand here is that when suffering comes our way, it actually doesn't come our way. It's not that something comes to us, but it is projected from us. So the suffering appearances that we encounter are actually our own projections. It seems as though something is coming to us, but actually it comes from us. It is our own projection. So the 6 realms of samsara are a projection. They are not something coming to you. And so that is something that will close the door, that understanding will close the door to suffering appearances. Because when you are able now to remember Amitabha, you have already closed the door to those miserable projections, because in your mind is Amitabha. If Amitabha is in your mind, then you will not project something else, because whatever is in your mind, that is what you will project. Everything is your own projection. The 6 realms, the 3 lower realms, are your own mind. They are the projections of your 6 afflictive emotions. They don't come to you. You project them. And that's really important to understand. And in the end, they all do not exist. So if you realize that, and I were to ask you, can you bring Amitabha to mind? Can you remember Amitabha? And if you're able to say with certainty, yes, I can, then with 100% certainty, you have already closed the doors to the 3 lower realms. And you can say, yes, I can with confidence, because you're confident that Amitabha will arise in your mind. You can remember the Buddha Amitabha. And if you can do that, then nothing else will be projected. So therefore, all miserable projections, the lower realms, do not exist. And so to believe in that, to trust in that, is the trusting faith. And what the other aspect of the trusting faith is your trust in bodhicitta. And if you practice bodhicitta, then nothing negative can be projected. Only bodhicitta is projected. So you have to gain confidence in that. And you know that if bodhicitta is in my mind, then with 100% certainty, I'm sure there cannot be any projections of the 3 lower realms. There cannot be any suffering of the lower realms. So of course we say, but there are the lower realms. There is so much suffering. But only if there are afflictive emotions, if there are the 3 poisons in your mind. Then if they are present, then you will project the 3 lower realms. And of course there will be suffering. So all of you are very intelligent and you have great faith, you trust. So you should really think about this very carefully. Really think that, recognize that if I cultivate love, then I've already closed the door to all suffering. Trust in that and know that nothing negative can be projected if your mind is a mind of love. So it's most important to cultivate faith in that, the trusting faith. And so now we will stop the teachings here and go back to the Amitabha mantra recitation. And so for the mantra recitation, and there's 2 recitations that we do for the mantra recitation, and then the latter one, the second one on page 19, that is the visualization of the ultimate visualization for the mantra recitation, and it's the most important one. So after you read this line here, this is the second visualization here on page 19, you should meditate for a little while. So we stop the teachings here.
Page 19.
Hong, innate awareness is the form of Amitabha. Look at the mind that is free of subject-object duality. There is no other Amitabha than that. How wondrous is the truth body of self-knowing awareness.
Om Ame Deva She, 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 Om Ame Deva She. Oi John de Angom Bo San Je Wa Ba Me Zai Jian Jar Se Jiang Sen Pa Pe Zuo Nye Mong Zhuo Lai Tu Jie Rai Gong Lai Da So De Ji Xian Dan Zhen Da So Nguan Jie Doi Jie Dan Jia Jie Xian Da Do Da Ma Yer Do Jie Wang Ge Lai Ling Yin Da Zhen Ko Wa Dong Zhou Ne Da Da Nye Da Remban ze do zor de dar don sho cha be ju gar be nan de do le do je wo man zhe da zo zhe we nian gar ten be mo dan ze lo che ba ran sa je da mi ju ge gong ba ngon je sam Sardon zeme ya.
Hong, transcendent conqueror, protector, Buddha Amitabha, and noble assembly of loving bodhisattvas, compassionately look upon us afflicted beings and guide us to the pure land of Sukhavati. In accordance with your past bodhicitta vows, not wavering from the sacred bond, deity with great compassion, please exhaust all negative karma and empty samsara from its depths. At this very moment, please act as our guide. As I, with intense devotion, have thus invoked the enlightened mind, red light rays of compassion radiate from the heart of Amitabha and dissolve into the hearts of myself and all beings. Self-grasping, misconceptions, and delusions have collapsed in themselves. The state of selfless Dharmakaya is realized, and I rest in the nature of clarity and emptiness, free from grasping and elaboration.
Now, when we go into meditation, you will hear two ringing sounds. When you hear the first ring, in an instant, all concepts cease. When all concepts cease together with the sound, look at your mind. Look at the nature of your mind directly. Look at the thought-free mind. That thought-free mind is the non-dual mind, is your primordial awareness, and to recognize that. And then when you hear the second ring, then bring to mind the image of Amitabha. So we have this image here of Amitabha inside of the rainbow sphere, and think there is countless, many Amitabhas pervading everywhere. Everything is filled with those Amitabhas inside of the rainbow sphere. All appearances are Amitabha in the rainbow sphere. And then as you go about in all your day-to-day activities, sustain this meditative state of seeing everything being pervaded by Amitabhas inside rainbow spheres.
Namba Gondele Jean Sona Daye Damba Gante De Rove Donger Chover Senwa Na Ba Me Nera Do
By all the limitless and sacred merit obtained through this meditation and recitation, may all beings drowning in the river of suffering attain the supreme state of Amitabha.
Om Shri Jaga Gunjang Gombo Ba Me Long Ge Zhe Dian Jar Zhe Zhen Be Zo Zhe Ge Nian De Zha Jiang Kor Jie Jian Zhuan Na De Jie Zhe Be Zha Xie Zo.
Hong, Hri, all-pervasive Dharmakaya, protector Amitabha, Sambhogakayas, the loving assembly of bodhisattvas, and Nirmanakayas, the gatherings of Shravakas and Arhats, together with your retinues, please endow all beings with the auspiciousness to progress to Sukhavati.
Page 23 in English.
He's 23. Emaho, marvelous. In the center is the Buddha Amitabha, boundless light. To his right is Chenrezig, the Lord of great compassion, and to his left is the Bodhisattva Vajrapani, the Lord of great power. They are surrounded by an inconceivable assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Extraordinary, limitless peace and happiness is the Buddha field called bliss endowed. When I and all beings pass from this life, may we be born there unhindered by another samsaric birth. And once born there, may we behold the face of the Buddha of Amitabha, boundless light. By the power of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, bless me that I may attain this aspiration without hindrance. Taya Taya Panchadriya Awa Bodha Nae Soha.
Amen Deva